Yeah, Honorable Minister, Mr. Chairman, panelists, Honorable Minister, Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. I know it's very short, so I'm going to be quite quick. Said it saying yesterday, Minister Ganga has spoken to us about Africa being the last frontier of economies in the world now. Africa is where to go. But 2 years ago, Professor Paul Collier, the author of Bottom Billion, next one, Bottom Billion, I was professor of study of economics in Africa at Oxford, said Africa is the last frontier also for resource, not just of economy, but for resource. That in terms of extraction resources, Africa is about only 20% of OECD average. So the cost of the exploration in Africa is actually well behind most parts of the world. Last year, Minister Shabangu of South Africa also mentioned, can I have this? Okay, it's not coming. Also mentioned, oh, I have to do that? Okay, fine. Sorry, I thought someone would do it for me. Yep. Okay. Go back a little. Right. Last year, I was at the PDAC this year, and the kind of comments I had were that mine is a very high risk venture, but that's obvious. About 9% of exploration in mine is eastward, which also is a risk. That about 1,000 companies were in the PDAC this year, but only about 10% of them are going to find very useful information. And people believe that too much money is in the market goes to waterless economy. This is obvious at the time of resource crunch. There is no money in the market. That finding risk at the companies is hard work. The question is, how do we sustain production with declining productivity? My answer is very simple. Look elsewhere. Look at uncharted territories. In the last 15 years, look in Africa and produce remarkable results. We look at Tanzania, Burkina Faso, Mali, Ivory Coast. I think Semaphore is a good example of that. The last three are in West Africa. This is that now look at Nigeria, because that's the last of the last frontier. So let me. I was talking about Paul Collier. Collier said, in the coming decade, extraction of oil and gas and mineral oils will constitute by far the most important activity upon the African history. So within the context of Mr. Ganga's comment yesterday, within all the investment, extraction of resources, mining, oil and gas are going to be the most important activities for Africa. So he said Africa is the last frontier for resource economics. And this, don't ask me, he said it himself 2 years ago. So I want to also make two quotes here. Shabangu said that expression in Africa per square kilometer is about $65 per in the US and Canada, Australia and Canada. But in Africa it's just about $5 per square kilometer, which means there's a huge gap to be filled in Africa. So it's waiting for Canadians to come to explore. Collier also said this, that the extraction per OECD, that includes in Africa, is about 2% of that, which is just about 1/5 of what should happen elsewhere. So the challenge now is to go beyond and look for this to happen. So let's go from the known to the familiar. What is known? Africa, we talk about known. Africa, we know that in West Africa, in geology, you look at what they call sheet structures. So the sheet is thick. Many Canadian companies, junior companies, are in Africa into mining. We know that. Many are in West Africa too. We also know that. But only few juniors are in Nigeria. This is geology, for those who are interested in geology. But basically, it shows where the shields are, but it's important, I think, for those who are interested in mining in West Africa, they'll be focused on the Archean rocks, the Birimian rocks of West Africa. That's actually, it's shown a lot of prospect in Ghana, Burkina Faso, and Mali. But what's available in Nigeria? This is what our geology actually is also basement. Basement complex composed of granites, schist, metapelites, this kind of jogger. But that's it. What's important really is that we also have some Archean rocks in Nigeria. And these Archean rocks are similar, but they are relics of Precambrian, what we call Pan-African imprints on Archean rocks. So these acro are very similar to the one you have in other parts of West Africa. So the chances of getting some similar results are there. So already I've shown that we have relics of Parker rocks in Nigeria. We have other granites, young granites, which are mostly the basement complex, tantalite, gold, lead, zinc, varieties, and granite is tin and tantalite. Sediment rocks, of course, have varieties and things. We have the rocks that are similar to those ones you find elsewhere in Africa. So there are some world-class minerals. So it's not like we don't have anything at all. So there's world-class minerals in Nigeria. There's bitumen, which you know, which we talk about 47 billion barrels of oil equivalent. We have coal at 1.5 trillion metric tons. We have gold in several locations. I'm going to show you a gold map now, and that will be of interest to everybody. We have barrels of 40 million 20 tons. So geology of Nigeria is comparable to geology of other Western countries. So there's no basis for us not to have the similar challenge, similar mineral resources that we have in other parts of Africa, West Africa at least. So Nigeria, therefore, is the last frontier for discovered minerals in Africa. So let me give you some background. Our view really is that what companies require, I'm going to talk about it in a minute, maybe I'll go over a paper, in what's the criteria where companies come to the country. Usually they want companies who would like to have a strong enabling policy. They would like to have a fairly decent tax code or regulatory framework. They would like to have what we call security of tenure. They have to be sure that when they have scientists, they'll be all right. They would like to have a good geology endowment. And also they have to have what we call high quality geoscience data. I'm going to go through that quickly and show that we have got some of this work. And we have done for geology 3 kinds of surveys: airborne survey, geological mapping, as well as regional geological mapping. In addition, we have targeted investigation in several parts of the country. And that map shows the complete coverage of airborne survey in Nigeria, followed by Fugro. That was done by PGW, which most of the Canadian companies. We are doing geochemical mapping in Nigeria. Geochemical mapping is actually doing soil geochemistry and analyze them for all kinds of rocks. This soil geochemistry is not only for, I must admit, not only for mining, but also does all kinds of reasons. So far, we are keyed into the global GRN system, which has about divided into the world, entire world of 5,000 cells. Nigeria has about 44 cells of that within 5,000 cells. We complete about just a quarter of that, and that's available for information for use. So we've analyzed about 3,000 samples, soil and sediment samples, and most of them are done in a lab in Canada here. So we've done analysis also in Nigeria, but we have to verify to confirm that the lab is consistent with what international practice we have done in Canada here. The data is about using ICP-MS for 54 element samples, so the whole gamut is there. We're doing geological mapping. This is basic geological map that geologists want. At scale of 1 to a few thousand, and we now upscale that and produce that into 1 to 2 million. So we have scale maps of 1 to 50,000, 1 to 100,000, 1 to 2,000, 1 to 2 million maps, or different scale. So let's go to unknown. So after all that, so we've been using tools to move our knowledge of the geology of the country. And we have a suite of modern tools in geological survey now that allow us to improve the data that we have. We use it to expand our targeting and expand our resources. We've done some preliminary first-part interpretation. So what's available for you to use as a junior mining company? We issue geological maps, all our digital formation, geophysical data, currency data of every currency in the country, geochemical data maps, Landsat data, which is obvious, people can get that, SRTM data, you can get that, you can buy that also globally. We have local DM data for the entire country. We have all air photos, very useful, I think. We also have bore records, we have well logs. So real potential really is in looking for unexplored areas. Even within Nigeria, within Nigeria is the last frontier. But ourselves, we also think there's a last frontier within Nigeria. And that is in our northeast-southeast border with Cameroon. Adamawa, from Oban in the south to Abudu, Mambila to Adamawa in the north. We are doing some work in the area. What we used to use, we have taken that target and using all these tools to we've not done work in that area before for several reasons. One is helium maintenance, leaf population, and cloud cover. But now we have all these gamut of tools to do that work. And I show you a slice of the current mineral map. You see on the left of the map, there are dots. These are mineral occurrence locations. On the right, it must look blank. This was about 2 years ago. We've not been able to fill those blanks. Linear mineral map, which is structural map from air photos and Landsat and the data we have, can produce that kind of map, shows everywhere. We have SIDM data of the Taraba that shows that part of work as well. So we have been able to use all data, go in Nigeria. But what's important is that for all data, we are able to identify about 35 new targets, which were done in the last 3 weeks, which is integrating geophysical, geological, geochemical data. That information is available at the booth downstairs. So I think if you want to come, you should be all in a rush. So I just thought these are the criteria again. With our policy, we've done all that. Laws, we've done that. Tax regulation, we've done that. We have that. So infrastructure, we have that. Government, I think we have. Data quality, we have. I think, Mr. Chairman, I think my case is made. Thank you.